Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything... It's Planet SkyFF. It's Planet SkyFF. And let's just leave it at that because the world doesn't revolve around £50,000, does it anymore?
Of course not, mate. I told you that 3 months ago or so.
Welcome to Planet SkyFF. Unfortunately, 5 game weeks out from the end of the season, the world no longer revolves around £50,000. Sky Fantasy Football, James. When your game week revolves around Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Diogo Jota, Bruno Fernandes, and James Maddison, it's time to give up, isn't it? When your game week only has two returnees in Dallas and Azpilicueta, and Rui Patricio concedes 4 goals.
How many points did you get this week?
It didn't even get to 40 odd.
Really?
Didn't even, yeah. But then I had Cancelo, De Bruyne, Son left in there, right? So 3 of those blanked. Calvert-Lewin blanked, Jota blanked, Fernandes blanked, Lingard blanked. Patricio got some save points that saved him from a negative score. Aspi and Dallas were the only people that picked up anything. And Dallas was like, I didn't even expect any points from Dallas this week. It was a brutal week. I didn't make any transfers. I can't say I was like really excited by this game week. I've got 7 transfers left. I will use them and I will have a bit of fun, but it was a bad game week. It was a bad game week. It was the final slap in the face that was just shut up.
The good news is it was a bad game week for a lot of people. I mean, yes, there were only 8 games, but I had 10 players. So I kind of consider that like a full game week, basically. I got 59 points, which is my lowest, other than sort of the blank game week where there was only 4 fixtures, my lowest score of the season, basically. And it's nowhere near my worst rank of the season in terms of a game week. So I got 59. I've dropped to 37th overall. It was just a shit stirrer for everybody, basically. It was the week for the differential, if you found a way to get in. I mean, nearly half my points has come from Kelechi and Nacho, and I think that's the case for a lot of people this week. That's probably the difference between me and you. You didn't get him, did you?
No, I didn't.
So what did you do last Thursday with the Leicester boys?
Madison.
Just Madison with 8 transfers.
And
I don't understand you.
No, to be honest, this is why people that tune into Fantasy SkyFF don't tune in for my Sky advice, because I'm not aggressive enough, and I'm still figuring it out. But James, you are quite a good player. Where are you left overall now? Still top 100, like 70, 60?
No, 37th.
Okay, so a bad game only meant a 10 or so place.
Because there's a lot of people would have done better than me. They wouldn't have done much better than me because captaincy across the board was pretty fucked up. If you look at the weekend, I dropped to 29th from Wednesday, Thursday. I captained Vestergaard, didn't I, against Tottenham on Wednesday? It was him or Diaz. Got that slightly wrong. Thursday, I bought Iheanacho and Maddison for Diaz and Vestergaard. And I'm kicking myself, and I'm not kicking myself. The fact I bought Maddison rather than Siyuncu, because I knew Siyuncu was the better choice.
Yeah.
But I decided that Maddison was going to be a much bigger differential with more explosiveness if he went off in the 4 fixtures. I kind of underestimated. It wasn't actually, although there was huge investment in Leicester, there wasn't as much investment in Siyuncu as I thought there would be. So he still would have been a great differential for me. And it's just the solid of the passing tiers, right? 10, 5, 15 points, whereas I'm sitting there on 4 from Maddison. It's not that Maddison can't outscore Siyuncu in the next 2 fixtures, but it's unlikely. I made a decision to try and win the game, was my opinion, and go, well, if Maddison can get a couple of 15-pointers or so and really haul, would be a better differential than probably Siyuncu is going to get me a flat 20 to 25 points or so. That was what I decided. So a little bit of regret that I didn't do what would normally be the safety move for me, is go with a guy with a passing tiers, but I wanted to try and swing with something different. Obviously, it wasn't that different because you went with Maddison as well, and his ownership's up to 20.
Yeah, but I'm not representative of the majority of Sky players in the top 2,000 because the rest have got a bit of a brain on them.
Maddison's ownership went up to 26.2% in the top 1,000, whereas Siyuncu went up to 28.5%.
So not a big difference.
Well, no, but that's the point. I really thought there would be a lot more investment in Siyuncu than Maddison, so I read that wrong. I obviously read the room wrong. So I might as well have just gone with s.2 from that perspective. He also came to the conclusion that going 3-4-3 was going to leave me with a little bit better flexibility in case Rafinha, for example, became a longer term problem. So what I didn't want to do was go with s.2, leave myself with Rafinha, Lingard and Fernandes in midfield and be in a position where I had to get rid of Rafinha, missed the boat on Maddison. Now looking at it and going, there isn't any midfielders that I particularly want. That's why I decided to go down that route. So obviously, if I wanted to come off Rafinha now, I could go to a defensive player. But actually, it's given me similar problems because I know that the problem's coming up with Rob Holding and Arsenal once David Luiz is fit. And I'm kind of stuck there where if I want to get rid of Holding now, it's got to be for a defender.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down to 3 transfers. I'm intending to use 2 of them on the 2 single game days, which are bloody awful. Fulham v Burnley, which we know is Monday the 10th. Southampton versus Crystal Palace, which I'm pretty sure is going to be Tuesday the 11th as a single game day. And 1 spare for contingency or to attack something for the last 3 games. If I have no injuries, let's be honest, something will go wrong.
Of course, yeah.
So that's the plan. And obviously, if I walk into bigger problems, I'm going to have to skip Southampton versus Palace, for example. I didn't think it was worth holding on to Vestergaard. I looked at it and judging it and going, well, he's got Leicester and Liverpool in the next 2 fixtures. Obviously blanked over the weekend, gone. In the meantime, I get 4 fixtures of Leicester. And what am I holding Vestergaard for? The hope of the 20-pointer against Palace. Well, I decided that I thought Maddison could outscore that originally by itself. And then obviously, if I wanted to go back, I could go back. Although it's probably, once I do get there, it's not likely to be Vestergaard, I don't think, once that game comes around. So captaincy for the weekend was a shit show, right? One of the things I've done with the moves that I've made so far is left me with at least 2 choices every game day up until that Fulham Burnley fixture. So if I did lose someone, I don't have to make an immediate decision to kill myself because I do have alternatives on every single day. That was the other thing that I really liked of getting rid of Vestergaard, opened up that deal for me. Friday, I got the decision wrong, going Calvert-Lewin over Holding. Not a massive difference. But I saw the Everton team and was quite infused that they changed to a back 4, so went with DCL. Holding outscored him. Saturday,
just a little though. It wasn't a big difference.
No. And this is because nobody really scored big.
No.
Obviously, Saturday for me was a blow with Salah scoring early, but then with him scoring so early, it could have been monstrously bad. That's the one that's kind of really hit me in terms of a rank drop. Is not owning Salah. I captained Dunk rather than TAA. In the end, that proved to be no difference.
Yep.
Lewis Dunk got over 100 passes. He looked so locked for a 10 times 2 20-pointer or so. They conceded a kamikaze goal. Sunday, like most people, went with Bruno. Nothing happening now. And then Monday night, Iheanacho, which obviously is mass owned.
Kept you with the rest of the pack, yeah. By
so many people now. On Sunday night, I was 37th. And I think after Monday, I was 37th. Part of that is I've got Maddison, whereas other people have got a combination of s.2 with it as well instead, right? There's obviously some people who haven't got Iheanacho. Iheanacho's ownership up to 64.8% in the top 1,000 or so. I noticed Harry Kane's dipped below 50% ownership in the top 1,000.
Very low.
Well, I presume the thinking on that, it's completely understandable for those who had a few more transfers left, was to decide, right, I've got 3 fixtures of Leicester, once obviously the fixtures were announced last week. 3 fixtures of Leicester, then you can go back for Kane versus Sheffield United. Be interesting to see if everybody does, though. I presume that's the majority of people's plans, is to go back. Then you can obviously go Kane for Sheffield United Leeds, and you could jump off again if you want, depending on where Tottenham's fixture with Wolves lands in what we think will be a new match week 36. So, the kind of push has kind of eased off a little bit. I almost feel like my season's deaded now after those Leicester transfers. I've only really got one big decision left, and that's what I do with the remaining one. I'm not making that decision now because it's a contingency transfer, and I haven't got the full picture of the fixtures. I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen with the midweek of the 11th, 12th, 13th, so detailed last week. I think Southampton Palace the 11th, Chelsea versus Arsenal, Man United, Leicester the 12th, Villa versus Everton the 13th. Beyond that, it's a little bit of a guess what happens between the 14th and the 20th.
And at that point, we're basically up to date. All the outstanding fixtures are caught up, And we've got 3 weeks left, which are 3 full weeks other than the FA Cup final, which are fixtures which have been in the midweek before. So talking about this coming game week, in terms of captaincy, Friday night, Leicester, no doubt. Are you going to stick with Kelechi Iheanacho?
He's just on fire, isn't he?
Mm.
He's absolutely on fire.
I think I'm going to buy him for Calvert-Lewin. I don't need Dominic Calvert-Lewin now. The only other single game day is so far away in the future, the 13th. I'll worry about that when I get there. I'll probably end up getting Patricio maybe after Wolves play West Brom. I'll get rid of Patricio after Wolves play West Brom and switch to, they've got Brighton and Villa have got, maybe Martinez is not the move. I'll see what I'm going to do with Villa, Everton. I might even skip it if I'm honest.
It might be. I mean, I've got the cover there for Calvert-Lewin at the moment, and to be honest, I'm just going to go through. I actually think Everton have got one of the best set of fixtures left. I even look at Everton Sheffield United's highly likely to land on Sunday the 16th. I think. It's obviously, if Villa Everton is the Thursday, that's an almost definite. And he could be an outside shot for captaincy that day that you can't quite see at the moment, the Everton Sheffield United fixture. So ironically, actually, in Calvert-Lewin's next 4 fixtures, there's every chance it might be 3 captains for me because I could be captaining him on Saturday as well against Villa this week as well. The choice for me Saturday is either Calvert-Lewin or my man Duncan at home to Leeds.
Yeah. I think I'm going to dip off Dominic Calvert-Lewin because I can always go back when it's the West Ham fixture. Then I get 2 fixtures of Kelechi Iheanacho and then get 3 fixtures of Calvert-Lewin again. And the Calvert-Lewin fixture I miss is Villa. I'm all right with that.
I will see if you make the move Friday.
Yeah, I'll go Friday to Iheanacho, captain him. Keep Iheanacho.
Do you not just feel like you've missed the boat on it now and just?
Yeah, I've missed plenty of boats though, mate. Now's not the time to worry about the amount of boats I've missed. I'm still fucking in the harbour.
So what would you captain Saturday if you sold Calvert-Lewin?
Kevin De Bruyne, assuming he's playing because he's still sitting there for me.
Yeah.
If he's not, Cancelo. So Kevin De Bruyne or Cancelo. In the horrible scenario where neither of them are playing, I've still got Stuart Dallas and Azpilicueta against Fulham. So actually, those are 2 decent options. So I've got plenty of options. I think
the best thing for the majority of people to do on Saturday is that if you've got a City player and he's in the team, don't overthink it. Just do it. I think those with Azpilicueta is probably the second best standout choice. I think because there's a 4-day gap between Chelsea's semi-finals, so they obviously played last night, play Saturday, then play Wednesday. I think Azpilicueta should play. I think the majority of that backline, Azpilicueta, Rudiger, and that will play. Obviously, the only interesting aspect on Azpilicueta is he's obviously played right wing back for the last 2 games. He was nowhere near the passing tiers against West Ham, and you can say, well, West Ham's quite a tough game, but West Ham have one of the lowest percentage numbers of possession in the league, actually below Fulham, I believe. So Fulham will have a little bit of the ball at Stamford Bridge. There's no guarantee. If he plays right wing back, he's probably not going to hit the passing tier. If he plays centre back, he probably will.
Of course, yeah.
But I think you'd still fancy at worst case 7-pointer there or so. You've always got the outside chance for an attacking return with him as well. So I think the advice would probably be if you've got City player, you'll see the team. If your man's in it, do it. If not, Azpilicueta, I think should be okay. And then otherwise you're leaning down to the same as me, Calvert-Lewin or Dunk. I think I'm going to go Calvert-Lewin because I just think there's a bit more explosiveness on it. I genuinely would not be surprised if Dunk picks up passing tier against Leeds as well because they've changed a little bit recently without the ball, Leeds. And Brighton, whenever they retain the ball, they just go back to Dunk. Play off the 2 other centre-backs play off a triangle off him. And then Basuma in front. He just sees 100 passes, man, at the weekend.
That's a lot of passes.
It's not a joke. So I think there's every chance he could hit even a 5-pointer again. I think I'll probably go Calvert-Lewin just because the ceiling on it's a little bit higher, I would have thought. Sunday.
On the Sunday, Harry Kane for you? Are you still holding Harry Kane?
Yeah. Well, that's what I decided was I couldn't justify the 2 transfers to come off and go back. And if I'd have done that, I'd have been going 3 games of Vardy, which he would have had to go off big, I think, for it to be worth the 2 transfers. So I couldn't justify it, knowing it was going to leave me well short for in the future as well. So I kept Kane. I'm very interested to see what 50% do on Sunday, because I think the majority of them are going to buy him back. Because the alternative is United v Liverpool and Arsenal at Newcastle. You make a case for Rob Holding. But to be honest, Newcastle have lost one game in 8, which was the defeat at Brighton, where they were horrible that day. But St. Maximin and Wilson back. Do you fancy Arsenal for a clean sheet at Newcastle? He'll let the Parsons here again if he plays. But then even with Holding, that's what I'm saying. It becomes a doubt now, where as soon as David Luiz is back fit, Rob Holding becomes questionable for me.
Yeah.
So Harry Kane, you just go with it for that one, I think.
I've got Son instead of Kane. That was the move I made when Kane was obviously injured. I might just stick it on Son, to be honest with you. I think rather than go back for Harry Kane, the position I'm in, a bit of differential is not such a bad thing. So, I mean, he's not in a very good mood though, Sonny, now, is he?
It's because he's playing for Tottenham. Thinking about it, the
amount of videos and TikToks I've seen with Son and De Bruyne saying, "Don't worry, mate, we'll buy you," and all of that. The amount of videos is ridiculous. I've probably had about 4 or 5 different ones that people have made with Sonny being sad, but it's all right. I'm going to City. The one with Bale crouched down saying, "Can I come too?" Monday, Jesse Lingard for me is the easy option.
Yeah, Patricio's the alternative for myself, but I think
Lingard.
Burnley
Having just conceded 4, I'm not happy with going.
Burnley, as we discussed on the FPL pods recently, have been a little bit more open for a while. So I think Lingard with the ownership, Patricio. I mean, you look at Wolves versus West Brom, and it obviously could very easily be an 18-pointer or so for Patricio, but I don't really trust him at the moment. West Brom have got to come swinging to try and win the game, even though they know it's probably too little too late. So I think Lingard, you wouldn't fancy Wolves at the moment for the clean sheet. And obviously with that in mind for Patricio, it was always a 5-game thing. And I always thought that at the end of the 5 games, I would end up coming off and making another transfer to get rid, because the final 3 are Tottenham, Everton and Manchester United. And obviously it falls the next day, there's that Fulham Burnley fixture. So I'm looking at it, it's Areola or Pope the next day is what I'm likely to do with that. Gator, ironically, could be an alternative. The only thing with the Southampton Palace one, my thinking for that at the moment, if that's Tuesday the 11th, is actually to probably go in earlier on Saturday the 8th, come off Maddison, whose final good fixture is against Newcastle the day before. And you know what I'm going to say, didn't you, Sid?
Tell me.
Wilfried Zaha. Wilfried Zaha versus Sheffield United Saturday the 8th, carrying for the single game day. And then that's it. Just swing with Zaha as a differential for the end. That's actually what I'm thinking.
Interesting. Shall we obviously are going to record again next Wednesday before the game week 35, is it? Yeah, match fixtures, which could be as many as 7 game days that will need captaincy coverage. Yep. So we'll obviously talk about those then. We've had some questions in on Twitter as well that we can cover off if you want to head over. Should we head over to Twitter? See what the world asks. There's no real, you've given the fixture update. There's nothing really on top of the other.
No, I mean, the only thing to say is we're probably expecting something this week. Wolves released details yesterday inviting fans to apply for tickets for the final game of the season at home to Manchester United, which is part of match week 38 anyway, which suggests that they probably are going to move a set of fixtures to that final midweek to obviously get fans in. And I think we're just waiting on the confirmation. The interesting thing is because of the social media blackout, if we haven't heard by Friday lunchtime, we're not going to hear till at least Tuesday, are we? And it starts getting a little bit late in terms of your thinking. And I think if we don't get the information, the best advice I'd give you is what I'm doing. Just if you've got the coverage this weekend, it really might map out differently for you for the last couple of transfers you've got. There's going to be other people in my position with sort of 2-3 left. We know, I think the majority of people are probably on 4-ish now, I would say. 5, I don't think there's many left. I might even be ambitious saying that because obviously there was a lot of transfers in for Leicester players last Thursday. I've not seen an update on the transfer stats, but I think it's definitely less than 5, the majority of people now. So they're precious.
Yeah.
They're precious. I don't think, there's no point steaming into Leicester for this Friday night, really. Your case is different. You've got 7 left. Fine.
So 1 or 2
But most people with Leicester, really, you should have already done it. Saturday, there's choices. Sunday, that 50% are probably using another one to go back to Harry Kane. If you've got Harry Kane, don't need to worry about it. Monday, majority of us have probably got Lingard. Just swing with that this weekend, reassess next week. I think it's the better thing to do.
Okie doke. There's quite a few vague questions, and I'll get to them in a second, James, in terms of when should I use my transfers. Well, it's quite a complex question, is that? But we'll see if we can help everybody out. Ian Parron starts off, I'm getting top to bottom here, with most managers now very low on transfers and having the confirmed captaincy days covered until Monday, the 10th of May. Is there a case to do nothing until then and hope to make up ground in the last 3 game weeks after we eventually get a fixture announcement? I think that's fair. Cop, if you've only got 4 or 5 transfers and you can hold out and cover yourself off, then yep, don't do anything. Sit tight and see what happens. Yeah,
I think you need I wouldn't say don't go in the weekend before, like I've just said about maybe buying Zaha when they play Sheffield United. I think that's a nice move from that particular one. Maddison to Zaha works. I've got 2 games of Zaha, Leicester at Man United on the Wednesday. I mean, it's a good chance Maddison wouldn't even play 3 days before the FA Cup final. Then they blank, and then Palace have got Villa at home the weekend after. There's 3 good fixtures of Zaha then potentially to make ground. And I know he's a frustrating player, and I already know it'd be regretful, but I that's the move I've got in mind at the moment as a differential that most other people aren't going to like. Generally speaking, I would not recommend Crystal Palace players for your Sky team. On the beach, nothing to play for. But Zaha is always capable, isn't he?
Yeah.
Of exploding. So that's the one I've got in mind, which obviously would be a transfer before Monday the 10th. But for the majority of people, if you want to go in for Fulham, Burnley, and obviously the Southampton, Palace, or Villa Everton fixtures, if you haven't got the coverage, in most cases you're going to be better off waiting for the team. Mm-hmm. There was a case to say Villa Everton, if you know you want it, if it happens Thursday the 13th, your entry point would be Sunday the 9th against Manchester United. One of the blessings with Villa is it's nearly always the same team, right? I don't think you're going to take a chance on an El Ghazi or so. To be honest, I think for Villa, if you're going back, it's only Martinez or Watkins anyway, really, isn't it? So I don't think you'd be thinking outside the box. Goalkeepers, I would say that for those who haven't got Martinez, I bet a lot of people end up making a goalkeeper change for the end of the season. I've got a feeling. Even people like with Leno are got to be looking at it a bit nervously, going, "Fucking hell, is he going to stick Ryan in for a game and stuff like that?" So I think like Fulham Burnley feels like the better one for the keepers. The only other 2 players I could see me considering for that is obviously Woods now in form.
Yeah,
he's obviously doing really well, but I'm still not keen on the idea of having a Burnley forward. I've only got Kane and I've got Kane, Iheanacho, and Calvert-Lewin. So I could only see me going for Wood if I've binned Iheanacho. If I've binned Iheanacho, there's every chance I'm not binning Maddison. So I'm not sure how that's going to work yet. The other one, I think Anderson. At this stage, you probably wouldn't need to make the saving on Adebayo. Fulham will have a lot of the ball against Burnley, you would think. So Anderson could be a cheeky one for that Monday the 10th. There's not many to consider from that. I mean, Southampton Palace, what are you looking at? You're looking at Ward-Prowse, Ings if he was back fit, back to Vestergaard. Goalkeeper, you'd have to do it on a night because you don't even know which one's going to play. And then Palace, what? Gator, Zaha. That's it, isn't it? It's not massive of different players to choose from. Whereas I think, say on Leicester last week, you could have made a case for 6 or 7 of them actually.
Benny Blanco's got a very specific question. Who should he sell for Trent Alexander-Arnold? It's either Azpilicueta after Chelsea play Fulham in 34 or Soyuncu after Leicester play Newcastle in 35. A or B?
Soyuncu after Leicester Newcastle, I think. It's probably the better way to go with that.
Why are we helping Benny anyway? He's challenging you for the money.
He's challenging me for the money as well.
Benny,
actually, yeah.
That's
why he's always in my DMs. What you doing, James? You got any advice, James?
Stop sending in questions.
Have a look at the mini league table, Benny. Should I be giving you advice? I would do it after Leicester play Newcastle, I think. Okay. Desperate to get Trent in for Manchester United away?
Probably not.
Nah.
SkyFF _ Hornet says, who's the best City asset to get and keep on Saturday? Probably Diaz, I guess, but doesn't start. If he doesn't start, only has Azpilicueta and Rafinha and might end up without a captain. So getting a City player looks wise.
So what's going to probably influence what happens for me, and if I end the season with a Man City player, now that I haven't got any, is probably what day the Newcastle fixture lands. And quite honestly, if I end up going, say, with Anderson and Zaha as coverage for the 2 single game days, if I cover them, I could see me going to Edison. And to be honest, if you ask me, with 5 Man City games to go, Champions League semi-final still in now, you ask me what's the best Man City player from now to the end of the season. Well, looking at the fixtures, Palace, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton, Everton, I'd say there's probably about 33 points for Edison.
There you go. That's a good shout.
Can you guarantee that from anybody else?
No, definitely not. Matt Seward, with the matches likely being pushed back, how many transfers would you advise holding back for contingencies against injuries? Well, it's either 1 or 2 is the answer to
that,
right?
More than 1 is the answer, but that's what I've got. I'm obviously prepared to say, right, well, listen, if I end up skipping Fulham, Burnley or Southampton, Palace, I'm not skipping them, don't I? That's what it is. I just think actually there's a couple of points of entry where it's right, like potentially been in Patricio, potentially been in Leicester players for perhaps a Palace player on that Saturday. Feel like decent entry points. So in my plan at the moment, I still think it's worth doing. But in terms of contingencies, 5 game weeks to go, have you seen what this season's been like? You won about 3.
We also have a question coming in from Amra Batman Joe. I think I know the answer to this one as well. I've forgotten to get my Leicester player in for the last 2 single game days. Do I bother with them on Friday or just accept that I'm in the mud, delete the app and come back next season? Don't delete the app and just wallow in the mud with me. It's good fun mudding. Have you ever watched the TV series Suits, James, with Harvey Specter and all that? It's on Netflix, the lawyer and all that. Nah. There's a guy.
Isn't that the one what Megan was in?
Yeah, she was in. She was in that.
Did she keep her clothes on? I heard she didn't.
Yeah, enough. There's a guy in there, a character called Lewis Litt, and he goes mudding. Have you ever seen mudding? You go and just sit in a bathtub.
Oh, this in the mud shit. Here we go.
Yeah,
go on.
Yeah. So I've never been mudding, but I quite fancy going mudding. So Joe, DM me. We'll go mudding together. But keep the app. I think it depends how many transfers you have left, isn't it? If you're like in my boat, 6 or 7, with the 2 fixtures that they got coming up, Southampton and Newcastle, it's worth getting 1 to give you the captaincy coverage, but maybe don't burn a lot of transfers to get 2 or 3 in.
I'd still get 1. There is a case to say, now you've got to this point, maybe go Southampton. Because of that Southampton Palace game as well. Might cover you off for that.
Liverpool Palace now.
I know, it's shit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's shit.
But it might be, if I need the coverage for it and you want to do something different. It's an idea. I think the name you'd put in there is Danny Ings. I presume he's going to be out. So no, I would still go for 1. I think let Southampton and Newcastle, great fixtures, aren't they?
Steve Wright, any player from Norwich, Watford, or potential promoted teams, maybe Sky Gems next season? I think we'll park that, Steve. But wherever you're listening to the pod, make sure you subscribe, because in the pre-season, we'll obviously be getting a correspondence on for those clubs. I think Mark Badger, he's a Sky player, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
So obviously some of the correspondents that we have for these clubs do play a bit of Sky, not all, but we'll get good advice off them. And yeah, price, as James said.
Very dependent. First one that would spring to mind would be Buendia, if he stays.
FPL off spinner, with only 5 transfers left, would you bring in Kane and Salah for DCL and Jota?
Would you bring, sorry, say that again?
Kane and Salah.
Yeah.
For DCL and Jota.
I'm not sure why he swaps Jota to Salah now. What's that, out of reactionary or frustration, or DCL is possibly going to come in quite handy for you if you've come this far with it. As I said, I might be captaining him Saturday. I realise you'd be looking to move on Saturday to Sunday, but could well come back for you, DCL, with those second Villa and then the Sheffield United games possibly. So no, I moving Jota to Salah. I mean, we spoke about the possibility. We think that Salah might not be in the Liverpool team on Sunday because obviously he's fasting and stuff, and the kickoff time is not ideal. So no, that would not be in my thoughts at the moment.
Tom Glover says he's only got 1 transfer left. How and when should I use it? Currently, no Arsenal or Liverpool coverage. I'm thinking Trent or Aubameyang. To be honest with you, Tom, just sit tight, mate. Just wait till one of your players. Wait till one of your players gets injured, and the path will become clear, I think is the answer to that one.
I would forget Arsenal faults personally at the moment. At least you will get to see the team on Sunday against Newcastle, but it's not going to help you. You won't see the team for the West Brom game.
You got one transfer for the rest of the season. You're stitching yourself up. I think you got to hold tight, mate, just for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing anything. If you really want a Liverpool player, I wouldn't bother this week. I'd be looking at exiting a Leicester player for a Liverpool player on Saturday the 8th. That's what I'd be looking at.
Chris says, hi, James. When does the monthly scoring start for May? Is it this weekend, i.e. mid-game week on the Saturday, or is it the start of the new game week next week?
Well, I presume in Sky it'll be Saturday is the first of the month, isn't it? It doesn't work
Chris
like
FPL. Chris has got 17 transfers left, and he's going out on an all-out assault on the monthly prize.
Wow, brilliant.
Go for it, Chris. Chris, do tweet us back because I want to know how you get on with this aggressive 1 month strategy. It could be quite good fun to see what you do with your 17 transfers.
Who's put the question in?
Chris Odon.
Chris Odon. Just let Chris know I got 14 left in my third team. And there'll be a lot of people who got more than that in their third teams. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Phantom Ansel, is it really worth holding Saints, Palace, Villa for the extra game when they're all on the beach? Even Everton are pretty unpredictable. I mean, again, how many transfers you got? But I think it is worth sticking around. You've come this far, like James has said a couple of times. Why are you going to jump off now?
I think if you had those players and you were jumping off particularly the Southampton one, the Vestergaard, was go for a Leicester player, s.2, whatever you were doing with it, that was the time to make the play. If you were coming off, you've missed some good returns already. I think if you come this far and what they're now playing in the next fixture on Friday, no, I don't see enough. But by the time they play Palace, you're going to take whatever the returns are against Leicester. Yeah, great. You can skip Southampton against Liverpool. If Southampton Palace is on the Tuesday, there's no other team that's going to play 3 times in between. You might as well wait.
Stevie at Stevie_A_G. Is it worth bothering with the Fulham Burnley match?
Probably not.
It's skippable, right?
Of course it is. All 3 of them are. Fulham, Burnley, Southampton, Palace, Everton, Villa. If they work out that way, they're all potentially skippable. Absolutely. I think Villa Everton, because of the ownership numbers likely of Calvert-Lewin / Martinez, you've got to know that the majority of people are going to have some sort of coverage in there. So that's going to be the worst one. Loads of people are going to skip Fulham, Burnley and Southampton Palace. Fairly convinced of that. But yeah, they're skippable. They're definitely skippable. It's not a must do. The thing is as well, we can't really see what's coming afterwards. So it might open up really nice where, take Fulham as an example. It might then open up for them that they play Southampton on the Saturday and then Man United on the Tuesday, and you can get 3 games. And it might be, say, in the case of, if you were to miss, say Vardy was to get a break on Wednesday the 12th and not play 3 days for the FA Cup final, which I say is a strong possibility. It might be you've got 3 Fulham players, 3 games for a Fulham player before Leicester play again, for example. And it's more, once that opens up, you can see if the gains are there. Whereas like that one with Vestergaard now moving off on Saturday, for example, it's not actually much of a game for when you would want it back. So you're better off waiting.
And the last question, James, is a little vague, but we can always try and answer it as we do. It's just gone off my screen. FPL Parking the Bus has got 6 transfers left, so 1 less than me. Which may be a couple too many. I think there's never such a thing as too many transfers.
You never have too many.
What is looking like the optimal time to use them? I mean, without seeing their team, it's obviously a little bit hard.
Yeah, there isn't. There isn't. The time that's going to get you the most points. It depends who you've got and who you want to sell and who you want to buy. At the moment, if you haven't got the information this week, the optimum time is not this weekend. And I think in most cases, not this weekend. You can say, I'll come off Leicester on Friday. We've still got Leicester next Friday. So this wouldn't be the week to sell the Leicester player. It would be the week after. So I think it's in that period with the single game days, the likely single game days of Southampton, Palace, etc. That's your kind of entry week. And by then you'll know what the rest looks like. So unless you really need a captain this week, i.e. you haven't got Kane, I don't think I'll be doing a lot this weekend. Most people are going to have a choice on Saturday. Even take me with no Chelsea, no City. I've still got Dunk versus Leeds or Calvert-Lewin against Villa. They're both reasonable options.
And that is the Twitter questions, James. Anything else to add on Sky this week, or we just sit tight, hold on, and see what happens in case we get some fixtures?
I think so. Sit tight, hold on. This is not a week to be going mad for it. If you've got loads of transfers, it's a very good week to go mad for it, because I think a lot of other people are going to be sitting tight till they've got the information. Now, obviously, if the fixtures drop later today or tomorrow, which is a possibility, then you can obviously map out. Once the next fixtures drop, you can map out your roadmap, if you will, till the end of the season. And that's the next thing that you should be doing. If you can't see that roadmap, and we can all hypothesize, obviously Ian did a great job on Hub Sunday night of suggesting what 36 and 37 may look like. But even as Ian said himself, it's very unlikely to be 100% right this week. Me and Ian are in complete agreement about what will happen on the 11th, 12th and 13th. Even that, we need the reliability of the Premier League to actually move fixtures and stuff. We can't 100% trust them. So you are definitely better off waiting for the moment, in my opinion, unless you've got real pressing issues. You know, if you're sitting there with Danny Ings and he gets ruled out for the end of the season, yeah, cool, make a move, for example.
There we go. Listeners, thank you for tuning in to Planet SkyFF this week, even though I did cock up the intro. Make sure that you are subscribed wherever you are listening to the podcast. You'll get notified as soon as we put out our FPL content, Clash of the Correspondents, People's Poll, and all of the other stuff that we do on a weekly basis. And if you want a little bit of extra content or a place to interact with other Sky managers in our Slack channel, then head over to patreon.com/planetfpl. It's well worth it. There's some very, very good Sky managers in there, all happy to share advice and ask questions and interact with each other. So if you're serious about the game and want to do it with a group of friends and a nice little community, that's the place to do it. Other than that, just stay safe, get vaccinated. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck this weekend. Cue music, please, man, child.